APDT once, I was talking about atmosphere cues, meta-language in dogs. So that is a behavior that signals the following behaviors have a different meaning, okay? And I was chatting to people about it, and they were all sort of blank-faced. So I thought, well, I'll give them a demonstration, and I'd fix this up with the AV man. And I never lecture with AV because it always goes wrong. And then you're stuck, and if they know they're expecting videos, they hate you. So the last time I used AV was in my TED talk, TED, Technology, Education, Design. The whole talk was 20 minutes exactly. The mic goes off at 20 minutes. I had a 20-minute video running behind me as I talk, illustrating everything I'm talking about. Beautiful, little Hugo and Dune doing stuff. The whole AV went down. For 15 minutes, there's no AV, then it clicks on. 15 minutes behind, totally out of phase. So I thought, right, I'll never do it again. So anyway, I'm lecturing away at the APDT. There's about 1,000 people in the audience. I said, okay, let's have the AV now, please. Thank you. And I wait. There's two big screens behind me. And I said, the AV. Hello, could we have the AV, please? So the AV man's in on this because this gets pretty damn scary. And I said, can we have the AV? My talk depends on it right now. So I then turned to the moderator on the panel, which is Patricia McConnell, who is not in on it. I said, Patricia, can you do something about this? I need the AV up here. And then I said, oh, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. And I ripped up my notes, threw them in the audience. I'm just not bloody doing the seminar. I walked off the stage and went behind the curtains. And the whole place goes quiet. So then I popped out again, and I said, I was just kidding there. I said, let me do that again with an atmosphere cue. So I said, right, everything that follows now is a joke. May I have the AV, please? And they get it, you see? But if the dog doesn't bend his elbow, the growl in play will sound exactly like a real growl. That's why they keep stopping in play and going. These are atmosphere cues that say, we are playing, aren't we? Because we are biting each other in the face and grabbing hold of ears and biting on the flues and pulling that. So anyway, that's an atmosphere cue. Nothing to do with today. Today is... But there's some things about behavior which are just, they're gorgeous. Like atmosphere cues. I love them, that dogs can have jokes too. They say, yeah, I'm growling at you, but it's just a joke. And you can actually read that and you know it's a joke. Because, when Rotter's growl, everyone says, oh, he's just talking. Well, is he? I would like to know because he's very big. Today is my favorite topic. Yes, I did research on aggression and social hierarchies, and yeah, did a lot of stuff on behavior problems, but problems. It gets too much at times. Like, why didn't you just do it right from the beginning? As Kelly says, good habits are just as hard to break as bad habits. So why don't you teach the good habit from the beginning? Where to pee, where to chew, to love all dogs, to love all people. It ain't rocket science. It isn't rocket science. But, as always, the things that require common sense and forethought often are very challenging for people. Well, I have to think about this? Oh, God, no, sort of thing. So today is just teaching dogs to do stuff. Manners, basic manners. Come, sit, lie down, roll over. Useful tricks like shake hands, high five, play bow, which means we put the atmosphere cues on cue. So that now we can actually get a dog to act friendly, which, as we know from yesterday, when you smile, you feel good. Well, if a dog does a play bow, I would imagine, I don't know, but I imagine he feels good too about the relationship. And it's why tricks, the jolly routine, games are so important. It's so important in training that people have a good affect and they're smiling and laughing inside. And it's a big thing today because the big drawback to all training when we look at skill set is not the academic stuff you've got to learn, the learning theory. And I'm going to make learning theory so simple for you today. I don't even call it learning theory, I call it a basic training sequence. Here's what you do when teaching anything. A fast recall, a rock solid stay, a quick sit, or high five and roll over. So the rules are very, very simple, and they come, of course, from learning theory experiments done in the laboratory, except When I went to the States in '71 to do a PhD in dog behavior, I had to take some psychology courses, and one of them was in learning theory. And as I sat and I was the only non-psychologist there, they all knew this stuff. I was like the Dummkopf, you know, in the class. And struggling with stupid terms like positive punishment and negative reinforcement, and it just drive me around a twist. But I listened, and I would say 95% of what they taught, my evaluation was, well, yeah, that's an interesting study done by a computer on a rat in captivity, but it's totally irrelevant to dog training, or training a parrot, or a horse, or a cow. It's irrelevant. Not only is it irrelevant, it wouldn't work if a person were doing it, because a person is not a computer, number one. They are not consistent. As we'll see this afternoon, they can't compute. Because to me, training is about numbers. I'm continually computing what is the response reliability. I'm continually computing a differential reinforcement schedule. We call it a DR10 2030. That's why we're putting it in the app, because people can't compute. So your app will compute for you. And what we need to know is that recall that just happened, how did that fare compared to the last 100 recalls in terms of speed? Well, the computer knows instantly. So now you know the type of reward, whether you could say, do you call that a recall? Going to eat the treat myself. Or do you say, hoo-hoo, hot damn, personal best? You get it? And that's how dogs learn. You know, when we think what we're doing in training, we've talked about increasing frequency of behaviors, decreasing frequency of behaviors, putting the presence of a behavior or the cessation of a behavior on cue. But also we want to teach longer stays. We want to teach faster recalls. We want to teach more stylish sits and downs. And why not? Because it's cool to watch. You heel your dog down the street, which you don't see much these days. Like I occasionally do it with Zuzu, and people stop and look and say, what a beautiful dog. She's so well trained. Yeah. I mean, she knows how to heel, you know, but if I let Zuzu off leash, she's a maniac with no control. One of the best things we ever filmed was me filming when we had 3 dogs, Claude, Dune, and Hugo, feeding them. I opened the kitchen door. I gave them no instructions. They went crazy. These are dogs that go through the feeding sequence every day. It's highly monitored, highly trained at the feeding sequence because I enjoy it. I'm feeding my dog now out of a bowl because I stand in front of the bathroom mirror and say, my dogs are perfect for me. So they are jumping on the table, little Hugo's barking, you know, biting at Claude, and Claude just reaches stuff off the table because he's so big. And so we get this wonderful footage of dogs out of control. So then what I did was, you know, I turned to the camera and I put the kibble and the raw diet, you know, back in the fridge and stuff. I said, right, let's do it again, shall we? I say, dogs, dinner. Dogs, sit. Well done, Hugo. You sat first. I love that. 3 dogs, 1 treat. Hugo gets it today. I prepare the dinner, and then I put Hugo's bowl down, Claude's bowl down. Dune is still sitting. I said, Dune, heel. He comes to heel. I hold the bowl like this. I said, let's go. Look in the bowl. Look in the bowl. So he's walking, jumping up, looking in the bowl like this. And then I stop. He sits. I put the bowl down, and I put my hand up like this. And he looks at my hand. And I go, live long and prosper. And then here comes the feeding cue. And he eats it. Just one command, sit. It's brilliant. Best command out there. So one of the commands I work on all the time, my emergency command, for absolute off-leash reliability is sit, not the recall. Recall's too scary. You don't want a dog running through the environment. If you're trying to get him under control because there's children, horses, another dog, 2 big bad dogs or whatever, sit, problem solved. As I said yesterday, they won't have options. Sit, go play, 95% of the time. Sit, come here, because now I can choose when to do the recall. And it's sit, steady, come here. So I teach my dogs fast recalls. I teach them very slow recalls. And in the games, we have slow recall races, which is hilarious. Ready, steady, go. I count to 3. A dog has to be 1 foot across the line before I say 3, or else you're disqualified. He must keep moving. If he does that, he's disqualified, and the judge throws down a hat. So the dog has to keep moving like this. Right? And I'm giving a commentary like, and this dog's so far behind, that's good, he's winning, he's behind, oh my God, he's accelerating, oh no, he's overtaken, oh that's terrible, now he's in second place because he's in front, it's really difficult to understand, he's going to that night like this, and the dogs come over the line, and the slowest dog to cross the line is the winner. It shows amazing control, especially if you're doing it with a Border Collie. Because Border Collie people, they know everything, and their dog's fantastic. Yeah, well try this one. So then we do the recall races. You have 2 races, fastest race, slowest race, 3 prizes. Fastest dog, slowest dog, and best combined dog that gets a rosette that's 4 feet long, because that's a really well-trained dog. So a lot of this stuff is irrelevant to training. So what we're going through today is what is relevant. What are the things, all the developments in the last 30 years which have speeded things up, made it easier, made it more effective. So this is the best DVD to play, to get the science-based dog training with theory. You want to see stuff in action. Serious Puppy Training Redux. So this is basic how to teach a puppy class, but showing how we use the food and phase it out. Okay, adult dog training, you got a problem now, because you can't lure, reward, train, because the dog is over the top, hyperactive, it's social loon, not even paying attention to you, doesn't even know you're in the room or on this planet. So what you got to do is to focus the dog, slow him down so he looks at you. So we go to all or none reward training techniques first. Maybe we go to classical conditioning first. If any dog is stressed, it's stand there, feed the dog, like we did in the growl class. If things are going well, I go into jazz up, settle down. It's probably one of my favorite commands, and with dogs, with children. And what it does is it puts craziness on cue. And the first time I ever did it was at one of those big dog fairs that Beverly Cuddy Dogs Today put on. And I was doing a Canine Games demo. So I'm doing the demo, and we got our teams here, and someone comes running up and says, "Ian, you're doing a workshop." I said, "No, I'm doing a demo." I said, "Look." He said, "No, workshop, look." And I'd been double billed, which is horrible, because everyone's going to hate me. So I'm thinking what to do, and Gwen Bailey has a team in the Canine Game. I said, "Gwen, can you run this?" I said, "Just do doggy dashes, musical chairs, and Kong challenge." She says, "Oh, okay, Ian." So off I run across the field. I said, "What do we got here?" He says, "You're going to die." So this is right at the end of my TV program, right? And everyone's there. Everyone's come for me to bless their dog, so it's perfect. They want instant. They don't want training. They just want a touch, and it's perfect. And so I said, "How many people?" He says, "Well, you got about 200 people watching. There's 80 people with dogs in the ring." I said, "What are they like?" He said, "You'll see." They were German Shepherds, Labradors, Goldens, Jack Russell Terriers, all with owners in Wellington boots, and all absolutely out of control. I've just never seen such a mess in my life. I mean, for an adult class with just, say, 8 dogs in it, it would have been a challenge. I thought, what the hell do I do? So what I did was, I said, "Right, your dogs are wonderful. They're so active, they're so out of control, so we're going to put out of control on cue." The cue is jazz up. So when I say, "Jazz your dogs up," I want every dog off the ground and vocalizing. And I want you dancing or jumping like a frog or whatever, So I say, "Right, jazz your dogs up." A couple of Jack Russell, just Labradors, rock it immediately, And I remember a guy with a shepherd, and he's going, "Go on, go!" And the dog goes, "What the hell is going on here?" Best sit, stay, and focus I've ever seen, So anyway, when they're all jazzed up, I say, "Settle them down," and hit the stopwatch. And we do this exercise until the whole class can go from jumping and barking to a downstay in under 3 seconds. So you're obviously now going to be picking on people. So I go, "Settle down." I said, "Well done, well done. Oh yeah, looking good." "What are you doing? Settle. What part of settle down don't you understand?" Because people, it's amazing. I say, "Settle down," and they go, "Ah." I mean, I love it. I love it. I love doing things where you acknowledge it's very difficult for people to follow an instruction. And I love it when they don't and they look like a total idiot. But in this case, we now got 70 dogs down and these 10 people, what are they doing? Did they forget their brains or something today? But then we get them down, so that's not bad. That's 1 minute, 12 seconds. All right, pet your dogs. Good. Talk sweetly to them. Tell them you love them. Get the tails to wag. Jazz them up. And we just do it again. And in that event, I never did it. But after 5 seconds, we got them down. So it was close. It's good exercise. Anyway, once they focus, we then go into all or none reward training, reinforcing the sit. Where if you reinforce the sit and you cheat, you hold the food here, the dog will sit and look at the food. So now you can hold it up here, he sits and looks at you. Now we've got him. Now we can train this dog in a normal way because the dog is focused on the owner. Then we go to lure reward training. Most of today is about lure reward training, although we will look at the other reward-based training techniques out there. And we can actually start by that. Remember, yesterday we ended with ethics. We'll put it differently today. Training, I talk about the 6 E's of training. We'll talk about 4 of them today, you know. And one is, it's effective. This is something we take for granted, but when you analyze it, you understand that so much training is not that effective. When you test, you know, response reliability, say, you test the length of a stay, like this. Some training is very effective, some isn't. So I call this the criterion. Before I have any discussion about training, I want people to understand what I consider training is. What is my criterion? My criterion is that the dog is under verbal control, at a distance, verbal off-leash control. At a distance, when distracted, without the need of any training tool whatsoever. Apart from, obviously, your voice. Why the voice? Why is verbal control important? Because if someone like to give me a hand signal to sit, you, give me a hand signal. Oh, that's a weird hand signal to sit. Internationally, every sit signal goes upwards because that's how you want the dog's nose to go, and every down signal goes downwards, even with the extended arm down. Okay, so sorry, do a signal again.
Which one? Your way,
well, one I understand. That's the first thing you got to test. Does the dog understand what I'm telling him to do?
I hold this one.
Good, well done. All right, now give me another signal.
Down.
See, that's why you have to use verbal commands. If the dog is not looking at you, if he's turned his back, if he's right next to you and turned his back, if he's 25 yards away with his back turned, if he's 25 yards away and chasing a rabbit, the only signal that can get through is an auditory signal. And the best one to use is verbal. Okay? The whistle won't make the dog more obedient. The whistle will just give you an auditory signal that carries further and is not as disruptive in the environment as you saying, down, at 6 in the morning, you know, when you're walking your dog. So verbal, off leash, and you'll see this is really big today. Everything is off leash. We want the control off leash. Why? Because the owner lives with the dog off leash at home. And when it comes to teaching an on-leash behavior, like walking on leash, we go through a progression of first we teach heeling off leash, then we teach following off leash, and then we teach heeling on leash, and then we teach walking on leash. But now you've got a dog who has centripetal attraction, whatever, I can never remember how to say that word. The dog wants to stay close to you, okay? And he's right there, so he won't be pulling on leash. So all these leash pull stopper equipment out there, it's just a waste of time because it's not a training tool the way it's used because they put it on and use it. We went through this a couple of days ago, remember? With training tools. If you use a training tool, you want to have it around but not use it for a long time. And this extends to anything you put around the dog's neck. Put it on, don't use it, so the dog gets used to it being there. Then you connect it up with a contingent cue. I use a scent cue. I sent the collar. Now we connect up the device, whatever it is, halter, harness, leash, and shock collar. And I say this because people still use these devices and they shock and shock and shock and shock. The assumption is I'm punishing the dog because he's a bad dog and I've got to get him under control. But in actual fact, they aren't punishing the dog, as we've said many times, you know. So that's why I got asked last night, why on earth did you give a lecture at a shock collar conference? Because I think I can do more good for dogs and owners there than I can at a food conference. Because I can teach them how to make the shock effective. So instead of shocking when they put it on and continuing to shock for the rest of the dog's life to little or no effect, they now go bap, bap, end of problem. Oh, it's a hell of a friggin' aversive stimulus, isn't it? Should do something, but all it does is just breaks down the dog's brain. It's a precise tool. So precise tools are, say, shock collars, clickers, and the timing is so important. You know, a scalpel. But instead of using them like a scalpel to excise, you know, little things from your body, you're slashing the dog to death. You know, which is bad if it's shock. Now, if it's a clicker, it doesn't do any harm, doesn't train the dog. Dog has a great time. Thinking, I don't know what my owner's doing with that thing. What the hell? I'll just roll over, high five, and circle her. I'll make her happy, you know? So, at a distance. Dog's distance at home even. He's in a different room. He's in the yard. You know, we want off-leash distance control. When distracted, obviously. It's no good just training in your kitchen and having a good kitchen dog. You know, you want the dog to be a good living room dog, bedroom dog, yard dog, park dog, you know, grandma's house dog. Without any training aid whatsoever. If you've used them, you've phased the necessity out. You can continue to use food, you continue to use a clicker, you can continue to use a leash, but you shouldn't be dependent on it. We want verbal control. So this is what I call the criterion. Was the training effective? Then it's got to be efficient. Efficient. Time efficient, commonly known as quick. How quick was it? Okay. Then it's got to be easy. And so I rank these. I just put them on a spectrum, 0 to 100. Okay. And obviously we can measure effectiveness. We can measure time. The easy notion you just see by looking at these two. If these two don't come up, you know maybe this is too complicated for the owner. And the first thing you have to realize as a dog trainer or any dog professional is the owner ain't you. They do not have your experience or expertise. So there's no point in trying to throw or hit them with a really complicated training technique with a high skill set. All right? So when we look at the 5 reward-based training techniques, you'll see some I do right away because they're so easy. Others I do because this is quick. The complicated ones I'll do much later. This is a level 3 class. So shaping would be a level 3 training technique. You know, they really need a trained dog. And why on earth would you shape a sit or a sit stay? Why would you shape these things when you can lure them in one training session with any adult dog? With any adult dog, you can take him and say, come here, sit, down, sit, stand, down, stand. Okay, and because I'm luring, I know he's going to do it on the very first go. So that means I know when he's going to do it, so I can ask him to do it beforehand. So now we get the correct order of antecedent and behavior. Antecedent, cue, command. Ante means before. It shouldn't come at the same time as. Years ago, I read about 20 clicker books, and in all of them it said, and as your dog is sitting, say sit. No! I mean, it wasn't just wrong, it was wrong in every single book. No, it's say sit, and then the dog sits. Well, when you lure, that's simple. 1, sit, 2, lure, 3, response, 4, reward. You get it? Yeah. So when clicker training came along, it actually, ironically, did an awful lot of damage to dog training. Because it was a new technique, everybody flooded to it. And because it was complicated, and you had a gizmo. I talked to Karen about this. I said, we were in a bar, and I said, why did clicker training pretty much destroy lure reward training? And why did it make people say silly, unscientific, and bad things about luring? So why was clicker training? Why did it become a religion? And she said, the clicker. You don't have a clicker. You don't have a gizmo. And it was that when the next day at that seminar, I said, I need a gizmo. What is it? And someone made me, I can't remember what it was now. It was a plastic hand from one of Sue Sternberg's pokey sticks. And they put it on something else, and it's a grabber hand for use in bars. So we all made these grabber hands so we could pull someone's beer over to us. Okay? But when you have, a gizmo, you have a book, it becomes a belief. And when you have a belief, you stop questioning it. And I'm someone who's always questioned pros and cons of this technique versus that technique. All right? So the criticism for luring was that the dog won't learn as well if you prompt him, lure him, show him. He will learn much better if you just let him work it out for himself and do it and then reward him. Which, of course, is asinine. When the dog knows it, it doesn't matter how he's learnt it. He knows it. Like I learned French and German when I was a kid. French, I loved the teacher, and she taught me in a really nice and funny way. German master was horrible, frightened the life out of me. I had German beaten into me. I know them both. It didn't matter how I learnt it, apart from the training process. It was fun learning French. It wasn't fun learning German, the classical conditioning fallout of the enterprise.